trying to hide with my big hood this sticky strip to catch gnats that I have in my room. Don't know how successful I'm gonna be, but yeah, I'm gonna try. If you aren't a close relative of mine, then you wouldn't know, but my sister just bought a house with her boyfriend. Congratulations, by the way. Round of applause. Yay. Exciting stuff. It's a pretty old house. It's not that old, but it's your grandparents' old. The decoration needs to go. There's stuff to do, basically, to modernize it a bit. This isn't the video for it. I'm not going to be making over the house. They are. It is quite intense, the amount of work they're going to do. But it motivated me, you know? Not to buy a house, because that's not happening anytime soon. But it did motivate me to make over one of the upstairs rooms, which is the landing. I've been meaning to do this, well, I've been thinking about doing this for over a year now, I think, because I just don't really like it. And I see this room multiple times a day, like every day. I want to like it. I want to have good feelings about it, you know, because if I'm going to see it that often, it needs to be good. It needs to be better than what it is currently. So that is what I'm going to be doing in this video. Not making a whole house, no. Making a room. There's going to be stuff to be done. But yeah, weren't necessarily able to do this earlier because it is my mother's house, so she does still have quite a lot of control over the decoration and how things are, which understandable. I am just a tenant, but she did give me free reign. That's what she said. I didn't tape it, unfortunately, but she did give me free reign on that room as of a week ago or a couple months ago. So yay! Yeah, I'm really excited to do it because it needs stuff done. There are some stuff that I would love to do to the room that I can't do because it's too expensive. One of the things that I'm really thinking of right now is adding a window, because that would be so cool. That would be wonderful. Like, that is exactly what the room needs. Those are really expensive and we have a budget. We have a small budget, so we're going to do what we can for the time being to make it better. So yeah, let's make over this room as much as we can. Yay! So the first thing I did, which is what any interior designer does, I think, I have no idea, is sketching some ideas. And as always, I take a lot of liberties when it comes to my drawings because, yeah, don't take any measurements. But it's just to get ideas on page to look back on as I'm working through the makeover. I did these drawings on the 14th of July. Also, you know how I mentioned that my sister had just bought a house and that it was kind of old? Not too old, but a little old. At least the decoration and the furniture. Well, all of the furniture that the house had before they moved in, they were either going to be chucked away or my sister and her boyfriend could keep, depending on what they wanted to keep. That's what the family of the former tenant said. Before they moved in, they said, oh, if you ever want to keep any of the things that are in this house, say so and you can keep them. If not, we'll get rid of the other stuff that you don't want. That's fine. Since my sister is my sister, I was also kind of allowed to take a few things if no one wanted them. So when I went in with the drawings, there was a few items that I knew I was going to get. I knew we were going to get a settee, which is why I drew one. But there was other pieces that I did not know we were going to get. I drew a sideboard in this side of the room because I knew that I really didn't want to keep the big wooden tall shelf because I thought it was ugly. It needed to go, and so to replace it I thought a sideboard would look really nice there. And I also thought if you had a settee you need to have a coffee table. I didn't have any piece in mind because I didn't have any at my disposal. But then when I went to visit my sister's house for the first time, I saw some few pieces that I was given the permission of taking home. And those pieces include a sideboard with the perfect measurements, I think, and a coffee table on top of the settee. So yeah, I am extremely fortunate that my sister moved and is moving house right this second, and that the furniture was free for us to take, So that is extremely lucky. It's like all the pieces are coming together and this is the perfect time to do this video, which is also why I'm doing it. We also just painted the stairs wall white. It used to be green like the rest of the room, so that's also just perfect. And yeah, this room is so ready to be done and I am so ready to make over this room. We haven't begun yet, but I think we're on the right track. So yay! Love that. Usually things don't go that smoothly, but it seems like it might. It might. We'll see when it comes to actually doing it, but I'm optimistic. The objectives behind this makeover is to, one, get this room looking pretty and wonderful, just turning this room into a room that I really like and feel very fond of, while also putting as little money as possible into this makeover, making the blue floor and green walls work since we're not changing that at all, so we're using things as much as possible so I don't have to spend crazy amounts of money. And also getting this room as organized as possible because it's such a mess, and if I want to keep making DIYs in art, I think I need to know where all of my supplies go and are so that I'm not constantly confused by the layout. Yeah, a lot to tackle in this one makeover, but I think maybe we can figure it out. The first thing I did was bring in the furniture. I did get a little help with this part, but look at me carrying the settee's legs. I'm truly the one putting in all the work. Once that was done, the bed needed to go to make room for the settee, so it needed to be taken apart. The landing makeover did require a slight detour at this point. Indeed, one of the main slats on my bedroom's bed was broken, whereas the bed on the landing was perfectly unscathed. And since both were the exact same model, I also dismantled my personal bed to replace it with the one on the landing. Because why wouldn't I? I just wanna try to get you in the mood. I just wanna hit you spot. I wanna get low. Wanna get low. I wanna go down, stay, kissing your feet and you make me crazy. With that out of the way, we are back on track. To me right, give me everything that you got to give. Baby, show me the light. Wanna go down, stay, kissing your feet, and you make me crazy. Now I wanna go down, stay, kissing your feet, and you make me crazy. that I've dealt with the settee, I think I'm going to move on to the sideboard. So removing the shelves to give room to the cabinet. I did discover something. At first I thought it was broken because it's quite old, or that the top was coming off just because of age and wear and tear, but actually it's meant to do that. You can lift the top layer and turn it into like a open bar cabinet thing. I don't know, I've never seen a sideboard do that. That is quite amazing. I don't think I'll be using it because I don't need it to do that, and also it's a little tricky to close it and I don't really know how to make that function, but yeah, that is so cool that it does that. This is a pile of books that I wanted to get rid of and I put on a website to sell them, and I don't think they've sold yet. I put them on 2 years ago, and so I think if they don't sell then I'll just recycle them or give them to a charity shop, because I've been hanging on to them for too long waiting for any potential buyer, and that hasn't happened yet, and this is taking quite a lot of space. So yeah, at least this box is empty. This shelf is coming in pretty nicely. I have board games, plant taken care of corner, and these are clothes that I would like to upcycle, add a few things in to make them more wearable, and I still have this entire shelf left to fill, so that's pretty good. I'm a little mad that my bingo won't fit in here, but it's okay, we'll find another room for it. I think we're doing nice progress. So I ended up swapping the 2 desks yesterday evening with my mother, and I think it looks much better. Obviously the bricks aren't ideal, but it's kind of the only thing we have that works in elevating the desk a little bit, because it's so small and short. It just looks like a primary school desk. So yeah, I think it looks so much cuter in this space. We did add a little stool at the back to put a plant there. Ideally a much bigger plant would look great, but it was the only fake plant that I had, and since it's quite dark in that corner, we just didn't want to take any risks. But yeah, we swapped it with my bedroom desk, and it's life-changing. It's so weird having such a big desk. There it is! Like, I have so much more room now. At first I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I do think it looks a lot better, this one in here and the other one in the other room. I will miss the brown dearly, and also did have a drawer. This one doesn't, so I might have to adjust to that as well. And yeah, it's pretty weird having my computer screen so close to the window, but it's so much better work-wise. I did have to use this because the mouse doesn't work on the Surface, so I'll have to do something with that because I don't like it. But yay! So that's some exciting progress and news that we have going on. It is a lot closer to my bed, but I don't really mind. So yeah, that's really exciting. It is making the room look a little more like a dorm room with how close it is to the bed. But again, I just said, I don't mind. I really don't mind. So yay! Right there. Just swapped it. But yeah, the size difference is insane. It's so small and adorable. I do also like how the wood looks in this little corner because everything else is pretty white, so I think it's a good and pretty nice contrast, and I think it goes really well with that light, so that's very positive. Look at all this surface area I can work with. I don't know, it's mind-boggling to me. I love it. I'm so happy with it. Yeah. Okay, so for this corner of the room, I had a thought about these two maps that you can see in the back, and my thought was to regroup them into this corner. So you'd have the two maps side by side on this wall. Since this is the school corner, I wanted to do that so that it wouldn't be so spread out on the landing, but then I kind of changed my mind because I thought maybe if I did do that, it would feel too busy in that corner and too empty right here. So for now, I think I'm just going to leave them there. I might just move this one slightly so that it's a little more centered when it comes to the window. But yeah, I think I'm gonna scratch that idea of putting them all in that corner because I think having them right where they are balances the space a little better. So yeah, that's just one of my original thoughts. Another one was to do with these frames. I love these. I really like the illustrations inside. They do go really well with the space. The only thing is, as you can see, they are really wonky, and I was wondering whether I should take them out of the frames because I do feel like the frames maybe take away from the image and are a little distracting, and if we just kept the postcards illustrations, then maybe they would stand out a little better. They are wonky, and I think if they were out of the frames we could put them a little closer together, which could be beneficial, so I might deal with that at some point. But again, I do see the appeal of having them in frames. It does make it look more put together, but I don't know, I'm gonna try that, I think.
wheels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the road.
Yesterday I continued tidying the landing for quite a long time. I did that off camera because it was just stressing me out and there was still so much to do. So that's what I did. There's still a few things to do, still quite a lot of mess, a little bit everywhere, but it looks so much better than the day before that. The floor is so much more bare than it had been for a few weeks, so I'm really glad about that. While I was tidying my shelves, I also started working on the decor. It's still in its draft, but I did get a few things started. The first thing was, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but there's this piece of wrapping paper that was given to me and I knew I wanted to hang it in this room. At first the original plan was to have it above the sideboard because that's just what I drew in my sketch and it made sense to me, but with it there I wouldn't really get to see it that much and I just really wanted to see it more than more basically, and so I thought of maybe putting it above the art shelves, which is where it is currently. But by doing that, obviously I needed to figure out a wall layout that I would be happy with. It's still a work in progress. I did go hunting for some frames earlier today. Wasn't that successful, but it's fine. Another thing, while I was tidying those shelves, I came across a few pins that I got at a car boot sale that are all around art, and I was thinking of adding them to my already existing pin wall display in my bedroom, but they actually wouldn't fit all on there, so I was trying to figure out how I could still have them on display. And then when I was in the kitchen, I remembered my mother has this pin display that I think is really cute, so I was really inspired by that, and there was pretty much the same amount of pins that I actually have, so the layout would work really well. I didn't have any kind of canvas like that though, so I asked her if she did have any, and she kindly gave me a spare one that she had in her office that she wasn't really using, which thank you very much for that. Yeah, she just wanted it to be put to use, I guess. I have so many surfaces to put stuff on that I think it's going to be tricky balancing it all out and not having everything on one surface, one piece of furniture, but we're figuring it out as we go. To make that gallery wall with the wallpaper though, obviously I had to figure that out and it's still ongoing, but I was thinking of maybe using this frame that was in this corner. This is kind of what I have going on so far, so we'll see how it goes. I don't really like how white it looks, so I think I might swap the illustration, if that is what I'm going for, with this watercolour on the wall that my mother made, because I think the colours are really pretty and I do like it. I'm just not the biggest fan of those two frames, and also the placement of them I'm not too keen on, so maybe I'll just use this frame that was on this wall and this piece of art inside this other frame and just kind of make them work together on a whole new wall. I'm still experimenting, trying loads of different things, seeing what works, what doesn't. Yeah, just seeing where this takes me really. For this art piece, I am so happy because it fits so well in this corner, and I literally used the same nail that was on the wall for the other frame that was there before, so I think it was meant to be. That's great. How many gallery walls is too many gallery walls in one room? Because obviously the original plan was to have a gallery wall on this wall above the sideboard, which I talked about moving to this wall. I think it's working pretty well. Since I removed the two frames that were here, it does look a little empty, so I was thinking of maybe adding a few frames behind the computer so that it kind of, I don't know, like the computer screen is part of the gallery. I don't know how that would look. I do have these 3 different frames that aren't actually frames you can hang, but maybe I'll try to do that, and I don't know if they would look good. in this little corner. I'll have to try, but basically doing something a little like this, perhaps to tie it a little better so that it doesn't look too empty. Maybe I just need to get used to there not being any frames, but if I do that, then that means there's 2 gallery walls in this one corner, and yes, this one would be a bit smaller, so it wouldn't be the same as a huge gallery wall like this one. But what about this wall then, which still feels quite empty? And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like how centered these frames are and the placement of them, since the sideboard is quite low. But again, the opposite side is quite busy, so I was thinking of doing something that I think might be interesting and might compensate for this huge blank wall that will not be having a gallery wall. And my idea is to insert a huge colored square on the wall, whether that is with paint or simply wallpaper type thing, so that I'm not really committing to it as much as actually using paint. But yeah, I feel like maybe inserting a big blue square there could kind of tie in with the rest while also not being too distracting, but also still being a statement piece and not making that part so blank and boring. I was thinking at the very beginning, which I haven't actually done, I don't know if I have given up on the idea yet or not, but it was to paint these 2 units different colors. So one would be a nice lighter blue and this one would be a darker blue. And so if I do go with that idea of painting a huge square blue, then I feel like I could use that same paint to paint one of the 2 side units. Sometimes you have that also in frames, but frames are really expensive, especially of that size, so I feel like it would be more budget friendly to simply attach a big piece of paper maybe. I'm gonna have to work on that and see. This sideboard is really hard to style. I was struggling quite a bit, but I think with this globe it's working a little better, at least this corner. The rest, still not great. The only thing is, I do think the black sock looks really cheap and makes it look very plasticky, so maybe I'll try to paint it like a bronze gold color or something to make it more authentic and vintage. Yeah, again, we'll see. made these 3 things a year or 2 years ago. This one was for me, this one for my aunt, and this one for my grandmother. They're just 3D kits of animals that were in the kids section at a shop that I go to, and I still have these 2 left that I haven't done yet. And I thought it'd be nice to make them and put them on a landing somewhere, because I think it's a shame to not have them on display. They're really cute and they're also pretty fun to make, so I'm gonna do that. The landing stored so many things in such a messy way that when I bought this label maker, I hadn't realized that I'd actually already bought one. So now I have two. I mean, I've had two for a while, I just hadn't realized. I also have multiple rollers of the same color, so I guess buying them gave me two very joyful experiences. But yeah, I have two, which obviously I do not need. And this is why you organize your space wisely so that you don't end up buying things that you do not need or that you already own. Yeah. But I guess this is a sign to start labeling absolutely everything I own so that I can actually find things better and don't forget things that I do actually own. Let's do it. Well, there you have it. The landing is finally done! Yay! I mean, I say done, but like any space, there are always going to be elements that are going to evolve over time. I still would like to try making some cyanotype art, for example, and knowing me, I'll probably continue to play around with this space by incorporating a few more things. On a smaller scale though, because I do think that we have reached a pretty final state for this room. I am very happy with how it's turned out. We stuck quite closely to the original design that I had imagined, so that's really cool. I mean, we kept the overall layout with the placement of the couch, the sideboard, for example, and we did also incorporate curtains like I had thought of, while giving me the option to try different things when things didn't work out and change the plan when it needed to. That's the case with me changing the location of the gallery wall, the desk that was turned diagonally like planned, but that was swapped with a completely different one. and obviously choosing to do the blue arch wall, which came about in the middle of the makeover and was very improvised. When I started looking at options in adding a giant statement colour, I was originally thinking of a square shape, and to make that I was looking at many different options, all involving me painting something that would be hung afterwards. Those included a piece of plywood, a canvas panel, a big sheet of paper, a very thick and compact sheet of cardboard, but they were all not the right measurements and were quite costly. So after stumbling on arches on Pinterest, I thought that that was the perfect thing to do and to go with. Not only was it less costly by doing it with wrapping paper, but by being rounded, I thought it would bring some softness to the space, which the landing definitely needed, with all of the square and rectangle shapes present. I'm very happy with the changes that we made. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect at all. It's a little wonky, not as tall as I would have wanted. You can also see the glue marks all around the edges. But considering all of the improvising that I did with this one, I think it turned out pretty good. What do you think? Would you try this one? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, overall I think this was a success. If I were to do this all over again though, I would change the label maker and opt for a much better one, because the one I used sucked. Not only would it mess up on the letters super easily, but it just would not stick. And I did have to go in with some strong glue to fix them properly, which was so frustrating. But hey ho, it's not the type of thing you can know in advance, and I guess it's a small inconvenience in the grand scheme of things, so just gonna let it slide. Another thing, I had meant to incorporate more plants, but unfortunately 2 died in the process of making this video. I am terribly sorry, but unfortunately the gnats got the better of them. I do need to take responsibility for not reporting them sooner though. RIP to those 2, they are missed. Maybe one day I'll get another syngonium and a fig leaf fig tree. But in the meantime, enjoy these before and afters. I hope you find them satisfying to look at. It's true that the space hasn't drastically changed, at least not in the way that most makeovers do. A lot of the elements stay the same. The integrity of the room is relatively the same as well, with the layout not having been touched that much. But I still think a lot has been achieved here by changing and introducing specific pieces of furniture and also more thought out decoration. And I appreciate the space so much more than before, which is exactly what I set out to do. The 4 main objectives were to make this room aesthetically pleasing to me while spending the least amount of money, working with existing things that I already own, and also reorganizing the space and my art supplies. And I think I can confidently say that I've ticked all of the boxes, so that's wonderful. I only spent 26 euros, I think, which is excellent. But I do know that that's not the most realistic amount, as I did get a lot of things for free. Again, a big shout out to my sister for not only letting me take so many pieces of furniture, but for also having such different tastes to me. This definitely wouldn't have been possible with her and her boyfriend moving. So yeah, thanks again so much for that. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts, things that you would have done differently, things that you appreciate in this room. I don't know, just anything that comes to mind, I guess. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!